Hi, and you're probably just as surprised as I am. You probably were wondering, is the show ending with the next episode? Because if you watched my last episode, we were talking about how Copa could potentially end my channel as well as others. And, well, it's still probably coming, but I figured, hey, let's get in a few episodes before we have to, end this. So I am determined to reach episode 100. Yes, indeedy. So, as you probably don't already know by the picture, we're going to talk about Black Friday. If you don't know what Black Friday is, you have probably been living under a rock, or you're from some other place that doesn't have a Black Friday tradition. Now, in today's video, we're going to talk about I'm going to keep it as brief as possible. We're going to talk about Black Friday and what you should and what you shouldn't, pick up. Now, I'm not going to discuss any particular store's deals. I'm just going to tell you, if you can find a store with these deals, go for it. If not, then find another store to go to. Of course, this will apply to Black Friday 2019. If this stays on in 2020, if COPA doesn't take effect, or they change the rules or whatever, then, congratulations, you're watching a video from the past. And nothing changed, everything is fine, we're all fine here. How are you? Little Star Wars reference there. But, seriously, Black Friday 2019 is, at this point, less than a week away, unless you're watching this the day before Black Friday 2019. If you're watching after, then may God have mercy on your soul. I don't know, seriously, but some of the stuff this year, the deals that I've seen in stores that they're going to have, some of them actually aren't too good. Not this year. And that's, applying to the deals in the United States. Now, I know they have Black Friday in the UK and other places, but, in the US, the deals really aren't that good this year. So, the big thing this year is, of course, we're talking about video games here. Consoles. Video game consoles. And whether you're deciding to buy one for yourself or for, whoever in your life, there's a couple different options. Your options for game console this year, of course, you have the Nintendo Switch, the Sony PlayStation 4, and you have you have three options for Xbox. You do for Sony too, for PS4. You can get a Pro or a regular. Or for Xbox One, you can go with the Xbox One S, the Xbox One S digital only, which is a download only console, or the Xbox One X, which is one of the most powerful gaming consoles on the market right now. But before you buy a console, you need to look at a few factors. The first factor is you have to take into account that next November, less than a year after you buy the console or give it to somebody for a Christmas gift, there's going to be a new era of consoles coming out. Xbox has one planned, and Sony has one planned, the PS5. And of course, there's a lot of info out there about the next Xbox and the PS5. Everyone's saying the PS5 is going to be more powerful than the next Xbox. I don't know if that's particularly true or not. That really isn't fact until we actually see both consoles released. It may be the other way around, but we'll just have to wait and see. And then, of course, if you want to go on the low budget side, in stores you can still buy a 2DS and a 3DS console. In my local Walmart, you can see 2DS consoles for roughly $79. And of course, they still have 3DS consoles, which are running. These are pre-Black Friday prices. They may be cheaper, but the 3DS, Nintendo 3DS, is running roughly around $119, in some cases $100, $99 in stores, certain stores. So, my recommendation, if you're buying something that you want to take on the go and you have the money to spend, go with the Nintendo Switch. Of course, there's two options for the Nintendo Switch. Now, there's the regular Nintendo Switch, which you can dock at home and play on your TV, and then, of course, you have the Nintendo Switch Lite. Now, if you want I can't even talk. If you want a powerful gaming experience, then most definitely go with the Xbox One X if you can afford it. Xbox surprisingly has a lot to offer coming up in the first 2 quarters of 2020. You have Flight Simulator, or Microsoft Flight Simulator, among other things. But of course, you need to bear in mind there is a new Xbox console coming out next year. But if you just want one just to mess around with, go with the Xbox One S. Now, PlayStation 4, the Pro is pretty powerful. I used to be quite a fan of PlayStation 4, but it just seems to me they haven't brought really anything new to the table since the last Spider-Man game that came out on PS4, which that was a pretty amazing game, honestly. But I'm gonna say skip the PS4 this year. They don't have anything new. They're getting towards what we would call being an they're getting set up for what they call end of life service, or whatever you call it. In those terms, it means that they're getting ready to wind down big releases for the Sony PlayStation 4, and it's just, they're not really worth investing in at this point. Of course, the Xbox One, particularly the X, is worth investing in. I would say that it will continue to be a pretty big console to invest in for, well, you can buy it, you can invest into it, you can buy games and stuff for it. I would say it would be okay for about another 2 or 3 years. So if you buy one now, even if you buy an S, you'll be fine. It seems like they still have some pretty decent stuff planned for the next few years, while PlayStation is just getting ready to pretty much abandon the PS4 after the PS5 is released. I mean, of course, the PS5, there's rumors that it's going to be backwards compatible with PS4, but you have to look at it this way. It's not really worth investing in this year as a potential Christmas gift. Now, if you're going to go the other route and go to a retro gaming store, or, buy a console from a used video game store, if we're going to talk newer consoles, the 2 best consoles to invest in that are decently cheap, that you can get really good games for, and this is probably unpopular opinion, the Wii U is one. And the reason why is the Wii U is just, there's good games out there, and a lot of them are decently cheap. and it's still a relatively newish console. It was made within the last 10 years. So if you can get one $100 and under, then it would be worth investing in. And honestly, it would be a really good, it would make a pretty decent Christmas gift. Now, you can find new ones still, what they would call at this point new old stock. And you could probably find one new old stock under $150, $200. And they would be worth still investing in because there's still plenty of games out there. It just, the Wii U never got enough credit. Not the credit that it deserved. And then, of course, another newish console. Not really newish, but it's been out since 2005. The Xbox 360. I recommend picking up probably one of the newer model 360s. Not anything older than a Xbox 360 Elite, which I myself own an Xbox 360 Elite. But I would recommend anything with a 250 gigabyte hard drive and above, and preferably one with Wi-Fi. Of course, you know, Wi-Fi became the standard later on in later models, but you get the gist of it. A 360 would be worth investing your time and money in, simply for the fact that, you know, if you buy one used, I'm saying, you could probably find a new old stock one under $100. But if you buy one, you know, 320, 500 gigabyte, usually don't pay no more used than $75 for one, which that's normally the going price in my store. If you don't already know, I own a gaming store, retro gaming and whatnot. But yeah, $75 for a used one is pretty decent. You can pay up to $150 for a new old stock one if it's unopened, and still feel like you got a pretty good deal. And plus, there's a lot of games for 360. There is a huge library for 360 games, so that would be worth investing in. Of course, there is a third option if you're going to buy a newish console. The Nintendo Wii, the plain old Wii. You can get those fairly cheap. I know I sell them for $25 a pop. That includes the ones that are backwards compatible with GameCube games. So that's also another potential gift that you can buy for Christmas this year, for yourself or for someone. If you can find them, you know, for Black Friday, pretty decently. Because most gaming stores, I know mine does. We have a Black Friday sale, and you know, you can get them pretty decently cheap, you know. But it all depends on what your preference is. Now, I could say the PS3, you know, a used one, but honestly, the PS3 isn't really worth investing in at this point unless you're a Sony fan. But I will say this, PS3s do make good Blu-ray players if you like movies. I will say that. Now, if we go with the retro option, honestly, I'm going to go with my gut instinct here and tell you some of the ones that sell really good in my shop, especially around the holidays. And I've actually been keeping track since 2013 of what my customers buy around Christmas time, and it seems to be the same every year. The two most popular options is Super Nintendo and Nintendo 64. Nintendo 64 more than Super Nintendo over the past 3 years. Nintendo 64 really doesn't have that big of a library, but it makes up for that with its big name titles like Super Mario 64, Pokemon Stadium, Mario Kart 64, Star Wars Shadows of the Empire, GoldenEye 007, the list goes on. I mean, I literally can sit here and talk about 64 all day long if I could. I'm actually a pretty big fan of 64. Not as much as I am for PS1, but, you know. But, 64s make great Christmas gifts. Of course, if you're going to get one for yourself or for somebody, make sure you get the big name titles. At least give them these two titles, Super Mario 64 and Mario Kart 64. And if they've been especially good, get them GoldenEye 007. But those 2-3-ish games are the ones that you would want to invest in, whether it's for yourself or for somebody else. And of course, unpopular opinion, PlayStation 1. If you can find one on Black Friday from a retro store, they're a good option. You can usually find them fairly cheap. I know my store sells them on Black Friday for $25 with a game and a memory card and a controller and all the hookups and whatnot. But those are another option. I don't know how your retro gaming store, your local one, runs, but you can get them fairly cheap. At least you can in my state. It depends on where you go, of course. I've seen some of them local to me that are just, crazy prices. Like I've seen one for $50, and it didn't have a memory card with it, just had a controller and the hookups, and that's it. No games, no nothing. And that's actually a pretty ridiculous price. Now, $40 is a decent price if it comes with a game, but it's got to be a popular title like Spyro the Dragon or Crash Bandicoot or something like that. And of course, like I said, you have your 64 as an option, your unpopular opinion, PlayStation 1. I haven't talked about Super Nintendo yet. Now, Super Nintendo, there's plenty of games for it, a lot of good options. You can usually find one in the neighborhood of about $60 usually in good condition. 35 to 40 in yellowed, poor condition, which most often than not you will find in that condition. But if you can find one for a decent price, games I recommend for it on Black Friday, of course. Super Mario World, Donkey Kong Country, of course, all of the Donkey Kong countries, which are 3 for Super Nintendo. Trying to think if there's any others. Yoshi's Island, which that is a really awesome game if you ever play it. And then you got some of the more rare ones like Super Mario RPG, Final Fantasy II, Final Fantasy III, Secret of Mana, Earthbound, stuff like that. Only invest in those if they're a good price on Black Friday, because some of those do go for quite a bit of money. Of course, if you want to just play those games, mainly Earthbound, Secret of Mana, and Final Fantasy III, excluding 2, whatever, you can always buy a Super Nintendo Classic online. Of course, you can put your own ROMs on them. I don't recommend that. It is technically illegal. But, just do what you feel like. And if you decide to do that, just don't get caught, and may God have mercy on your soul. And one more thing before I go. I haven't brought it up yet. Some popular, well, not popular, but games that are out this year. There's a couple options for newer games. Just real quick, I'll recommend a few recent releases. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, to name one. Pokemon Sword and Shield, which both of those I just listed. I'll be doing reviews on sometime this week, so look forward to those. And curious enough, if you are curious enough, there is a Jumanji game currently released, so you might want to check that one out. It's not very expensive at my local Walmart. It's only about $33, so it might be worth buying. So hopefully we can keep doing these videos for a while. I really hope so. I hope this whole Copa thing doesn't derail it, because I have all kinds of good gaming ideas that I want to share. Of course, we'll just keep trucking on and see what happens. So yeah, So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps if you do. And don't forget to hit the bell if you want notifications of when we do more awesome videos. Like I said, we're going to try to hang in as long as we can with the whole COPA thing. So hopefully we can keep making videos, and maybe that'll change. So until next time, I will see ya.